easy thing at all. So when you see Black Lives Matter popping up in dozens of cities across the United States, many of them are paid protesters. Many of them are a part of organizations, and these organizations are mobilized. And yes, they are European, white controlled and funded. But, you know, the interesting thing about the Black Lives Matter website is their omission of Black men, their need to affirm the lives of trans and LGBT people, which I have no problem with. Right. But, you know, when we look at I believe Angela Davis said this, you know, when we had the Black Panther movement and we had a Black movement in America that was rising and growing strong, this feminist movement tried to invade and get Black women to join the feminist movement. And she was like, why would we split our forces? Our forces are already behind enemy lines and are already in an uphill battle. Why would we divide our forces? And again, this comes back to the art of war, divide and conquer. You know, what the white liberal or the white socialist does is they get you to divide, right? So it went from, you know, Black lives are being slain to, you know, what about intersectionality, right? And, you know, what about gay lives and trans lives and women lives? So now you're fighting 4 different battles when really it began with just Black people. So then what you have, especially on social media, you see a lot of arguing and fighting. You know, the women are saying that the men are bad, and the gay people are saying Black men are bad. You even have one article from a very popular and white funded organization that said Black men are the white people of Black people. So and you'll even recently you'll see one of the Black Lives Matter founders called herself a Marxist. She said, I'm a Marxist. So this is just more evidence to show you that the Marxists and socialists are the ones that are controlling the ideology and funding these people and brainwashing them and giving them the talking points and you know, so on and so forth. Again, that was part of the integration plan. They didn't really want Black people to be a part of white schools because of equality. They wanted them a part of white schools so Black people would think like white people, so they can control the mind and remove the real revolutionary aspect out of them and replace it with this Marxist revolutionary.
So we have a question about that topic. So Bruna is asking if you don't agree with integration, as you were talking about schools.
Yeah. So in order to understand integration, you would have to understand the history of the United States. There has always been Black and white people living and working and loving together in the United States. I mean, we talking way back. We're talking 1700s, 1800s. You had bars where white and Black people danced, hugged, fornicated together, right? So, you know, and then on through Reconstruction, you had white people coming to Black shows, and you had Black people going to white shows, and you always had, there was no hate like people like to push. The Marxist version of history likes to push white people are always bad to Black people. And it's just not true. Were there certain places where this happened? Yes, there were certain spots, right? You know, here and there, you had whites hanging Blacks. And I think at its peak was 2 a week, right? But the part of history that they omit is that Black people were whooping white people's butt too. It wasn't like we were just taking the butt whooping. We fought back. So we had little battles here and there, little mini wars here and there. So it wasn't like we were opposed to integration. I think there's a difference between voluntary integration and forced integration, right? So voluntary integration means I want to be with white people and white people want to be with me. So let's hang out together, right? And I have no problem with that. You know, Hotep Nation, this logo you see behind me, this logo you see on my hat, is supported by white people. And a lot of them are white people on the right or in the middle. A lot of them are in the middle. So I'm not opposed to voluntary integration. What I'm saying is that forced integration was a psyop for the Black mind. It was to control the Black mind and take Black kids who had a Black ideology, a Black first ideology, then take them, bring them into schools, remove their history. You won't learn African history. You won't learn real Black history. You won't learn real American history. We're going to give you our version of history. We're not going to teach you the same as we teach the other white kids. If you look at schools in America, what they do with Black kids is, it happened to me. I went to they had me in like these remedial classes. There's like 4 levels, right? You got AP, which is advanced placement, level 1, level 2, level 3, and then level 4. Level 4 is like the bottom. Like, this is where the troublesome kids are. At a young age, they put me into a couple of level 4 classes, and my parents didn't realize this until I came home one day in 9th grade and I said, yo, I went to class today and kids were just throwing papers at the teacher. So my parents investigated, come to find out I'm in level 4 classes. So when I go to high school, they test me. And when they test me, they find out, actually they tested me in 8th grade. And in 8th grade, they found out that I was reading at like an 11th grade level, right? My math was at like a 10th grade level. So I was above my grade level, but they had me held back. And this is what integration does. It wants to control and put you off to the side. So you think you're integrated, but you're technically still segregated. And you'll see it in schools a lot where Black and white kids go to the same school, but all the Black kids are in one class and all the white kids are in another class. So it's fake integration. Now, the other thing we have to understand about forced integration is this is the thing that gets racists upset. You know, you can't say, let's say I built a Black school, right? And the government came and said, hey, you know, put white kids in this school. You're like, wait, hold on. I built this for my people. You know, we don't want white people in this school, right? But they wouldn't do that. They wanted to force integration on white folks to cause this war, to cause this fighting. Black people didn't ask for integration. Black people, again, asked for funding for Black schools. And I'm going to show you another example. In America, you have Indians, and I'm talking about the people from India, people from Pakistan, all these different cultures. You have Chinese and Japanese. If you go to New York City, you got Chinatown. If you're in New Jersey, you got what we call like Little New Delhi, right? And you'll have places where it's wholly owned and controlled by Indians, or places that's wholly controlled by Chinese. And nobody says anything, right? Nobody cares. Nobody says anything because these two groups have power. But if white people did that, it becomes a problem. If Black people did that, it becomes a problem. Even in Spanish communities, you'll have little, like in Florida, you have Little Havana, and it's all the Cubans have one area, or Haitians have all one area. Even Jamaicans, you'll always find a Jamaican restaurant somewhere. It's just a Black American who really has no control because we've been integrated to want to be into white institutions. We don't want to build anything Black. We want to be up under white people. And that's the problem with integration. Now, if you want to be with white people, that's fine. But when the government comes in and says you have to allow Black kids into your school, that's a problem. And if you go read Brown versus the Board of Education, you'll see the PSYOP within that document.
No, it's interesting. I had no idea about that process of integration. Actually, I never heard a lot about that history. But since we are talking about history now, it all started on slavery and before that, right? So back to that. So I see you're nodding. So tell me about our history, where we first Black people came to America. How was it in the beginning, and when did things turn sour?
So you have to go look at the work of Christopher Columbus, or Cristobal Colon, which is his real name. And you have to look at the work of Bartholomew de las Casas. Bartholomew de las Casas was a slave owner in South America. And then we got to look at the work of Cristobal Colon. And what Cristobal Colon says in his own writing is